G'day guys and welcome back to this week's Fishing Report. Let's get straight into what's been biting around Sydney this week. Again, similar to the last couple of weeks, the bluefin tuna again have been really consistent out offshore. Fish in excess of 80 kilos have been caught over the past week. Going out into 80 plus meters of water has been the key to being able to find them. Using diving hard bodies have been the key to being able to find some really nice bluefin. Moving shallower into our inshore reefs. Another fish that's been going really well is our snapper. Our snapper have been caught in our shallow reefs and also nice and out deep in 50-60 meters of water as well out off Sydney. The snapper have been biting on bait, particularly out deep in our 50 and 60 meter reefs. There's been some really nice snapper being caught out deep, and in our shallow inshore reefs there's been some really nice fish caught on soft plastics using 1/4 and 3/8 ounce jig heads on about 5 and 7 inch style soft plastics. The only thing with the snapper, there have been again very short bite windows of roughly an hour to an hour and a half around a tide change, a sunrise or a moonrise or moonset. Now if we can again marry those up and have them together, the bite window seems to be extending just that little bit more. But again, the bite window for snapper have been around that hour to an hour and a half. Another thing that people have been finding as of late, catching 1 to 2 fish in one spot and then it goes completely quiet, and they're having to move to different reefs throughout the day after they've caught a couple of fish on that reef, and then coming back and returning to it an hour or two later. As we go towards the back end of winter and into spring, the flats are starting to warm up and the fish are starting to head around. There's been a few really nice reports over the last week of some really nice fish caught in some quite shallow water, as particularly for this time of year. Fish being caught in less than a meter of water and really consistent catches in less than 3 meters of water, which is particularly a mid-spring to all of the summer sort of style fishing. The biggest key is they've been fishing around the high tide around the late afternoon, so about 3:30, 4 o'clock being a high tide, letting all that warm water rush up and having some time while the sun's still nice and high in the sky to warm up those flats and make that water, even at times a degree warmer, has been producing some really nice fish. Again, if you're going to head out on the flats, we're going to have a very stealth approach, particularly this time of year. Again, there's not going to be plagues of fish out on our flats. Moving on to the weekend and sort of planning out when we want to have a fish and what sort of times will be really nice to be able to go out and fish. So the weather report for Saturday is looking pretty good. We've got a nice low swell below a meter, a nice southwesterly breeze, and some nice tide changes in the morning, as well as some moon rises and moonsets. So let's get into a bit of detail about it. Talking about our tide changes, we have a 5:30 low tide, a midday high tide, and about a 6 o'clock low tide again. So we've got some 3 really nice tide changes, particularly our 2 low tides at sunrise and sunset. In regards to the moon, we're coming off the back end of the new moon, and we've got a really nice moon rise at about 9 o'clock on Saturday morning. So if we're thinking about going for a fish on Saturday, particularly when we're looking at being able to, again, marry up some bite windows, the morning is looking definitely better than the afternoon, but the afternoon, again, is still looking just as good. The only reason why I probably would go in the morning rather than the afternoon on Saturday, mainly because we have a sunrise, a tide change, and a moonset all within a couple of hours of each other. Now, that might make the bite windows a little bit different. We might have a really strong bite window at sunrise. Between 7:30 and 9 o'clock, it might be a bit quiet. And then when that moonset happens at about 9:30, we might have another bite window between 9 and 10 o'clock. So if we're heading out offshore on Saturday morning, that would be my plan. Head out offshore, shallow reef fishing for snapper, all the way to about 10 o'clock in the morning, moving from different reefs up and down our coastline here off Cronulla, fishing some really lightly weighted jig heads and soft plastics. Again, if we're going to go fishing on Saturday, the afternoon also looks amazing as well. We've got a tide change right around sunset as well. So again, similar thing to sunrise. What I'm going to be doing is I would be heading out offshore again, fishing our tide change and fishing our sunset out offshore on our shallow reefs. If I'm going to be fishing in the afternoon though, I would start deep. So I'd start in 50, 60 meters of water, and then I would move shallower as that sun will be setting. Because the snapper will be doing that. They'll start out nice and deep, particularly towards the middle of the day, and then as that sun is slowly setting, they'll move in shallower and shallower, and you should just be following them in shallower and shallower, and then hopefully having a nice afternoon of fishing. Again, similar with Saturday. Sunday is looking also really good. The weather is very, very similar to Saturday. We've got a nice light westerly breeze. We've got low swell. We've got a tide change around sunrise. We've got a midday tide change, and then another tide change again at sunset. And again, our moonrise is going to be roughly around about 10 o'clock. So planning for fishing on Sunday, it's pretty much going to be the exact same as Sunday. Heading out shallow early in the morning, out offshore for our reefs, targeting snapper, and then as the day progresses, go out deeper. As the afternoon progresses, I'll then go from my deep reefs back to my shallow reefs until sunset. Now for our river fishermen, both on Saturday and Sunday, that high tide around midday might produce some really, really nice fish. Again, like I said previously, there's been a lot of action in less than 3 meters of water over the last week, and we should see that increase as we go through August. So it's definitely worth having a go along the flats around midday. If it's a bit quiet in a lot of the spots that you're going, why not go in less than 3 meters of water, drift around with your baits, particularly your soft plastics and stuff like that, and see what's happening. There's been some really, really nice fish being caught in shallower water over the last week. Again, so to wrap up the plan for the weekend, we've got some beautiful sunrises and some bite windows around sunrise because we have a tide change, a moonrise, and a sunrise all around the same time. Our afternoons on Saturday and Sunday are going to be awesome as well. We've got a tide change and a sunset around those times. So we've got a 3 out of 3 morning and a 2 out of 3 afternoon. Again, fishing all day, if that's something that you would like to do, you should be able to produce some really, really nice fish and hopefully have a nice plan to be able to go out and have a fish, whether you are in the river or out offshore. And quickly before I leave you guys, again, the real cast, the second episode, the full episode has been released. Steve Starling, an Australian legend in fishing, he sat down with me and spent a lot of time with me talking about his fishing career and particularly his finesse philosophy, which was a great insight into lightening up your leaders, lighting up your tackle to actually target some really, really big fish and have some fun while you're doing it. So Reelcast on any podcast platform or at Real Fishing on my YouTube channel where you might be watching it right now, where you can find the full episode of Steve Starling. Also, we now are building a back catalogue of episodes. We have the 2 angler profiles from episode 1 and 2, and also the 2 full episodes. So if you haven't gone back and watched the first episode or the angler profiles, I would definitely highly suggest for you to go back and have a listen to them. We had By the Gills, Sam Gilchrist, snapper on soft plastics specialist, and then obviously episode 2 we have Steve Starling. Again, don't forget to support 7 Seas Apparel. 7 Seas Apparel support me by providing me with some really, really cool winter merch for you guys to go out and have a fish, stay comfortable, warm and dry all at the same time. I'm wearing this 7 Seas hoodie at the moment. Don't forget to go and use code REALFishing10, that's REEL Fishing 10 to save yourself 10% off 7 Seas Apparel. And that's going to do it for this week's fishing report. I hope you all enjoyed it. Hope you all go out and have a fish this weekend. Please remember that the fishing weather may change from when this is released. So please make sure you're checking the weather before you are heading out to have a fish. And we'll see you in the next one. Like and subscribe. Peace out.